What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to another Tuffy Talk live show. We're so excited to be 24 days from kickoff, y'all. It is crazy that how fast time goes. Now, I guess when you turn on ESPN and you see, all talks about, NFL camp and what else? Baseball and golf. That's all you have to look forward to from the sports world. I guess time might go a little bit faster to get the start of college football season. But we're excited, ready to go. You got myself, Layden Smith, Carson Macon, Michael here, ready to talk some NC State football. Specifically today, we will be breaking down some NC State defense, y'all. Before we get into that, I guess I'll kind of get a little bit of a check here. So first of all, I know we got our good friend, supporter Michelle here saying, good, marvelous Monday, Wolfpack Nation. Pilates done and groceries picked up. Just need Tuffy Talk to make this Monday complete. You are the best, Michelle. Always appreciate you tuning in for sure. And definitely make sure if you're tuning in with us, if you haven't been with us before, you know the drill. Or sorry, if you haven't been with us before, you don't know the drill. If you have been with us before, you do know the drill, which is any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns that you have, make sure to put them in the chat, and we will get to all of them here today. So any questions or anything in particular about the NC State defense that you want us to discuss in more detail, or a specific player you want to discuss in more detail, or a thought that you have, put in the chat, and let's get to all of it here today. But with that being said, Carson, man, getting a little bit excited, man, especially now with the weather, man. You're getting a little bit of that fall weather right now, man, in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah, it was 60, 70 degrees yesterday, so that was good.
Oh, that sounds nice.
It is nice. I know, Michael. You're missing out, man. You're missing out, dude.
Yep. Still dead summer down here.
And then it's going to turn to 85 the next day.
I know. Like Macon, what do you think the odds are? Like, I don't know what they have as the weather for a game day right now, if they even have the weather for game day that far in advance right now. But what do you think the over under is for temperature for that day? Because I mean, I think if unfortunately, oh, that's true. Yeah. That's true. I know. But I'm just so used to that first game being a scorcher. So maybe during the tailgate weather, might be a little bit hot.
It'll be hot during tailgate.
Yeah. But I don't know, Macon. I mean, do you feel like that with this weather, maybe it's gonna stick around a little bit?
I don't know. I'm actually there are Weather Channel actually does do a monthly forecast, believe it or not, and that can't imagine super accurate. But at least I'm going to see if I can update the High Point to Raleigh. But at least in High Point, I think it was saying here it is going to be on the Thursday a high of 87. But honestly, in my mind, the first two games are like blazing hot. I'm just thankful the first game is a night game because you don't have to feel it that hot. So
I think Virginia might be hotter just because it's at noon.
Correct.
Virginia will be hot,
sure.
Yeah.
True. Yep. But I also, too, as well, before we jump into some defense, I do want to discuss two things in particular. One, Michael, I know that you and I in particular will be a little bit keen to this, but the line has shifted a little bit more for the ECU game. Now we're only favored by 11.5. So, is Vegas buying the ECU hype?
Maybe. I mean, one point is not that much. Starts moving more than that, then you might have a problem. But
yeah, well, and again, I mean, when the line originally came out a few months ago, it opened up at 12.5, and really kind of hung around there, and then now it's down to 11.5. But still, well, it's in my opinion, Michael. I mean, it's all just guesswork. Like it really is.
Yeah, the early season games, it's hard to really know. Kind of like games are hard to predict, even for Vegas. I mean, they usually get them right, but they're more right than they are wrong. But still, you never know.
Sure. Yeah. So and see, even Children saying when I was at State, it always rained for the first football game. See that here's my thing, and let me know in chat what y'all rather have, because I feel like that over the last probably 10 years, it's almost been consistent that the first game would be scorching hot, Like I remember the JMU game in 2018, I think it was. In particular, that game was insanely hot. And there's been a few others as well. But Macon, would you rather have a first game that's extremely hot or a rainy game?
If I could take hot over rain, I might actually take the rain because blazing hot sucks.
Really?
But
I would take the hot.
I mean, I've been to I went to the Notre Dame game, right, in 2016 when it was. So water's not going to keep me away, and it makes it a little bit more fun in some ways. But I mean, you just stay cool, sit on the home side, let the shade hit you a little sooner than the away side. It does. It's not as bad if you sit over there. So, but no, I'm kidding a little bit. I prefer cooler rather than I would prefer the rain or not rain. So if it's blazing hot, you just got a sunscreen up and drink a lot of water. So,
yep. And then I want to get into here a little bit of the ACC football predictor order of finish came out from the media after ACC Media Day. Talk a little about that. So ranked number 1 overall, no shocker here. Clemson getting 167 of the 183 possible first place votes. Then Miami 2nd, SMU 3rd, Georgia Tech 4th, Louisville 5th. They have NC State at 10th behind at number 5 Louisville, 6 Duke, 7 Florida State, 8 Carolina, 9 Pitt. And then 1 spot behind State is Virginia Tech. So Carson, do you feel like that's a pretty fair placement for NC State?
Yeah, we went 6-6 last year. There's obviously a lot of question marks about this team, particularly with change of coordinators. And so I think it's a fair placement. And we have an opportunity to prove the doubters wrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, Michael, do you think that were you shocked in particular any one team being a little bit higher than you thought or a little bit lower than you thought? Anybody really kind of stand out on this list?
Florida State.
Florida State a little bit, but they're always going to get the benefit of the doubt because they're Florida State. So they're overall, I think I don't know. I think we're probably a few spots lower than I thought we would be. But again, once you get past those top 5 teams, it's pretty much you could pretty much put those teams like 6 through 12 in pretty much any order. Like Duke, Florida State, UNC, Pitt State, and Virginia Tech and Syracuse. Like, I don't think there's much separation between those kind of middle 6.
I'll be honest with you. I was a little surprised that Georgia Tech was 4 because they finished the season 7-6. So, and I mean, I think they have a lot. Like Haynes King's gonna be a really good quarterback from them. I think Brent Key has been a really good coach hire. Probably one of the tougher games, I think. So I imagine they bring most of their team back, but a 7-6 win team being 4th is a little surprising to me personally. But that's one thought I have there. I agree with Florida State. I do think State's a little low. But yeah, I think the other one, honestly, that kind of surprised me a little bit how high they are is UNC. I'm not trying to be a hater, but I was like thinking like, okay, I think they finished 8th. They're pretty to be 8th.
Their schedule is just so easy that it's like
that might be part of it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, I mean the other one too for me that we had mentioned was Virginia. They have them at 14th, right above California, Wake and Stanford, which I'm like, I mean, I'm not saying that Virginia is going to be, competing for the ACC or anything like that, but I mean, I definitely see them being a 500 ACC team this year, bringing a good amount of talent back from last season. Made a couple moves in the offseason transfers wise. Brought in a transfer from a transfer running back from North Carolina Central, I believe. That was an all-conference player. So so definitely has some potential there for sure. The schedule isn't too shabby at all either. But so I thought Virginia maybe being at 14 is a little bit low. But I did want to get your thought in particular, Carson. What are your thought about Virginia Tech getting 1 first place vote? Did you chuckle at that at all like I did, or?
Yeah, Virginia Tech's finished 6-6 2 years in a row. Under their is he a fourth year coach now?
Right? I think it's year
Brent
3.
Fry.
Okay. I think it's year 4 because I think it's my
year 4.
freshman year.
Yeah, I think this is year 4. Yeah.
My freshman year was the one where we came back 21-3 on them. That was his first year.
That was his first year.
I mean, I don't know. Like last year, they were expected to be pretty good, but they were very inconsistent at times. Now they did let a couple games get away from them, like the Vanderbilt and the Miami game, but still, I don't see Virginia Tech taking that leap. I definitely think they could. I think that they are sort of like Georgia Tech, a sleeping giant in the ACC, but at this point in their program, they are at a point where it's like, okay, I need to see it to believe it.
Right.
If we can overcome that.
Yep. Yeah. Nope. So, yeah, I mean, Virginia Tech, yeah, I mean, just seeing the one first place vote was interesting, but also, too, as well, the 4 votes for Florida State to win first place. It's like, I mean, I don't know how you put much confidence, Donk, in Florida State right now. Like, they are in 100% the case of, prove it, right now to me. Like, there's.
I think they'll be like, I think they'll win like 8 or 9 games. Like, I mean, they have all the talent in the world, like they always do.
Yep.
I don't know. I just don't know about Castellanos, whatever his name is at QB.
Well, again,
like a big gamble.
Well, because what's been their, what was their one? I mean, besides the fact that they paid DJ a lot, Uyunglele a lot of money to be a terrible quarterback. Besides that, one of the other big issues that they've had last year was keeping the locker room. Just like keeping guys together, keeping them focused, playing with one another, making them 11 cohesive players instead of 11 individuals. And coming out of the gate, you have Castellanos, making those crazy statements saying that I was the reason why Boston College offense was as good as it was, and blah blah blah. And so I don't know, just like we take that's a one-time thing. I'm sure he's learned from that for sure, but it's just Mike Norvell obviously is coming off a year where before that he was being talked about as one of the top ACC football coaches in the conference. And now after last season, it's kind of all up in the air, and definitely he's got his work cut out for him, because just like you said, Michael, if he could bring everything together, then they're going to be a team that's 8-9 wins is definitely within the possibilities. And but it also could be exactly a repeat of last season as well, where everything falls apart, and FSU fans are having some big question marks about Mike Norvell's future. So.
I just looked at FSU's games from last year. They had one game last year where they scored more than 24 points, and that was against Charleston. And that was against Charleston Southern.
Oh, yeah.
They scored 14 against Cal.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah. No, they'll definitely be probably, of all the teams I'm most interested in seeing how they do, Florida State's definitely probably at the top of that list for me. Besides Carolina, for sure, definitely interested to see what happens with Carolina, but I don't know. A couple comments here real quick. Preacher Man asking, have we ever had a snow game at NC State? Which Chilton had a little bit of context on that, saying no major snow game to his recollection, but we have had a game postponed against Carolina one time for snow. I mean, I don't know if any of y'all, and specifically, I know Greg's here in the chat with us.
I've never heard of snow. At least in my lifetime, I've never heard of snow in Raleigh before December.
Right.
No.
Yeah. I don't think so.
No, especially not for a football game. Not that it's ever, affected a football game. No. Never heard of a game like that. So take that with what you will. But hey, if anybody else is able to find an NC State game where snow was involved, then let us know. Please let us know in the comments. So,
does it have? Well, I'm assuming it has to be in Raleigh, though, right? He's been playing being in Raleigh. It could be somewhere else they played in a snow game,
right?
State.
If it was a late game, maybe somewhere.
You can go to Chestnut Hill and play Boston College in November. Right. It might be snowing there at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Greg saying Tim Peeler, NC State historian would know. Absolutely. Speaking of Greg too, man, you need to get that picture updated, my dude. That beard you have in this profile picture is not there.
Random quick talk about Greg. Is Greg basically become like a unofficial school mascot? What do you guys think? Leave comments in the chat. Let's see what you guys think.
No, I think Greg would fall under the category of super fan.
Super fan.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, hey, I mean, super fan / devout NC State, treasure for sure.
Treasure. There you go.
Treasure,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Gotta treasure that man. Hold on to him for sure. Hey, I would love to meet the NC State fan that does more and is more involved in NC State and has more NC State than Greg. That's for sure. I would love to meet them. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying, I would love to meet them. Let's put it that way.
Just saying it's
gonna be tough to beat. I'm just saying I have a hard time believing it. That's all I'm saying. So, and especially too with the fact with Greg that he didn't even go to NC State. That like that to me takes it up even another notch.
Yeah,
he's just a proud Wolfpacker.
Yeah. What can I say? I know, not born into it or anything. So, just chose the way of NC State.
To level up his fandom a little bit. So
I know. That's why I agree. I'm sure Greg will let us know his thoughts in the comments here in a minute as well. But in the meantime, let's jump on over talking about some NC State defense, y'all. So let us know in the chat again. Any topics in particular about the defense that you want us to discuss, or players and specifically you want us to discuss? Put them in the chat here. But obviously the biggest storyline, Michael, is for this defense is new co-defensive coordinators, which we'll kind of talk about them specifically. But new scheme for going back to the 4-2-5, right? Yeah. So for me, my initial thought of why I do love it in particular is I think, and we'll kind of get, kind of spoiler alert here, but I think one of the biggest things the defense needs to improve on this year is the front four really needs to improve. We really need to get pressure back on the quarterback. Last year, our disruption rate was basically almost zero. We were just not getting really much sacks or pressure on the quarterback. We weren't getting many run plays for 0 or negative yards last year, and that all starts on the front. So what are your thoughts in particular about this new scheme? And do you think that this would help a guy like maybe a Brandon Cleveland, not get double teamed every single play, so he could go and wreak some havoc himself this season?
Yeah, I think that's one thing, consistent thing that Doran has brought up in press conferences is getting more pressure on the quarterback. I mean, that starting up front, getting that pressure helps every level of your defense. And yeah, I think there are going to be some guys on the roster that maybe better fit in this defense. And then a lot of them you brought in from the transfer portal. Trey Thomas, Keon Sloan, who else? Sebastian Harsh, like a lot of these guys that, Joseph Adedire from Texas
Adedire, AJ Prim, Sebastian Harsh. Look at Kenny Soares, AJ Richardson. These are guys. Trey Thomas, Sloan, Sterling Dixon.
Yeah. So just kind of guys that your more typical edge players that you see that get the ones that get drafted high. Like there wasn't really a spot for them in Tony Gibson's defense because just of the scheme, the linemen were all much bigger and your linebackers were a little bit smaller. So all these guys that are in between that are super athletic, and that's why they're so important. There wasn't many of them on the team last year. So I think you're going to see a lot of that pressure, a lot of those pressures and a lot of the sacks come from those transfers. And not to say, current guys can't benefit from it as well, but I think those positions specifically, we really went after the portal hard there.
Yeah. Well, and making, Greg highlights here saying took a lot of flyers on defensive line. You kind of mentioned some of the names there, but not necessarily big names or guys that probably cost a ton from an NIL perspective, but guys that have proven experience that could underneath Coach Dorn and Charlie Wiles's development could potentially take that next step and be potential all ACC players. Is that how you kind of see making?
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. I think Greg's comment were correct. It was a bunch of flyers, guys who showed promise at their previous stop. Looking for anything we can find, honestly, within our NIL budget, in my opinion. But just going off of some projected depth chart from ourlads.com, the one guy, if you want to go just off that might be the biggest potential for a pass rush solution is going to be Trey Thomas, because he's the only guy on that's listed as a starter in the front seven for us on that depth chart as a graduate transfer. Trey Thomas is a guy who came from Temple. Just kind of reading up on his bio on the GoPack website, it says he was a guy who he earned at Temple. They have a tradition, so similar state where the leaders get the single digit kind of things. You got to earn the single digit jersey numbers, and so he earned one of those. He played a role there at Temple. They called the jack role, which was a hybrid defensive end and linebacker. So he can stand up and play linebacker. He can come up to the line, stand up. He can put his hand in the ground, hand in the dirt. So he's a guy that I think could help out a lot. He started all 12 games there.
He was with DJ Elliott at Temple, so I think I agree. I think he might have the first crack at it. Just built with that relationship. That Elliott definitely trusts him.
Yeah, he can at least set the tone of what to expect for the rest of the guys. I honestly don't know. I mean, what the rest of the options will look like with Harsh or Soares or Sloan. You just hope at least one or maybe two guys emerge. You hope all they do really on them, but realistically, I think if you can get two of those guys to really make a contribution, that's two more than you had last year, in my opinion. So, or at least one. So that would be helpful. But Trey Thomas seems to be the lead option right now. And I'll be honest with you, big picture. I think one thing that's a little concerning for me is I've heard so much talk about the offense in this postseason. We're not going to talk about them, but just I haven't heard a lot about the defense. And maybe I've heard things about individual guys, maybe more so than I have units. And it's a little concerning to me because usually defenses are further along in the fall camp than the offenses. And I'm not saying offense is further along, but I would be hoping to hear more about the defense, and maybe it's just not where I'm looking, or I don't have the information as much as I'd like to. But I think it all just kind of ties together. These are guys who are flyers. They're new in the system. They're transfers. That's the nature of the beast now with NIL. It's going to take a little bit of time, I think, to get adjusted. But hopefully with the Trey Thomas kind of guy, like to your point, Michael, who was with DJ Elliott previously, like they know each other. He can get up to speed more quickly than some of the other guys. So we'll see.
Yeah. So a couple comments here real quick. Just David Lee saying, hey, go Pack. What's up, David Lee? Appreciate you tuning in, and definitely, as always, go Pack. But Carson, wanted to touch base on this one comment here. It's from Buzzy Corral saying, expect movement in disguise coverages. QB isn't going to know zone or man. So I want to kind of ask you in particular, do you know much about DJ Elliott's from a system perspective? I know from a experience perspective with DJ, he's kind of been a little bit of everything. So, spent, 1 year with the Philadelphia Eagles as a linebackers coach. So, and then before that, spent time at Temple, Kansas, Colorado, Kentucky, Florida State, you name it. So, I mean, like, I want to kind of ask you particularly about, again, DJ Elliott, but specifically that experience with the Eagles. I mean, do you feel like that kind of adds to, like, does that kind of pique interest at all, seeing that recent NFL experience as a positional coach?
Yeah, I definitely think so, because, I mean, it's very, very recent with the Eagles as well. In the in the Nick Sirianni era.
And
they
had a pretty good defense in 2023. So
yeah, I mean, they just won the Super Bowl. So
yep.
Even though he wasn't a part of that team, he was still, a part of building that up.
Absolutely.
And I mean, having that NFL experience, and knowing, the steps that it takes to build a good, not only a good player, but also a good athlete, I think that'll help the players on our defense sort of mesh together well a lot better, because these players, they want to win. They want to win as a team. And DJ Elliott, coming from the NFL, he's from a team that knows how to do that. They've been to two of the last 3 Super Bowls and won one of them.
Yeah. So, want to kind of touch on that now. Michael, one guy in particular that I definitely want to talk about from the defensive line side, Isaiah Shirley, a guy that's a friend of the podcast, actually. We had him on here a couple years ago when he first committed to NC State, talk about, his commitment and was playing for NC State. And one of the things that really stood out was his character, just an absolute stand-up guy, which you're not shocked about whatsoever. That Dave Doran, that's one of his main focuses is the character. Guys are going to be a value in the locker room and not just on the field. But Isaiah Shirley was a guy that wasn't really a focal point at all, even last season. But now with the opportunities becoming available, with Davin Van moving on, he's a guy that definitely has grown. I mean, I think if you look at the pictures of him from when he first got to campus to now, Thunder's definitely put in his work with Shirley, and has definitely beefed him up for sure. But I don't know, I mean, would you be surprised at all if Isaiah Shirley was the biggest prize after the season?
I honestly, yeah, I think I would be pretty surprised if he had a breakout year. I think he's got the potential. But I haven't heard much about him this fall yet. I think I read he may have been injured in the spring, so getting up to speed on the new scheme. But yeah, I think he's definitely, like you said, he's one of those guys that we'd love to see him do really well. Because we've had conversations with him. He's just kind of a great guy overall. So, but right now I haven't heard a lot of buzz about him, and maybe that's just because it is kind of focused on the new guys coming in with the new scheme. But yeah, there's definitely still a defensive end position that I think opposite kind of those pass rushers is definitely still up for grabs. So that'd be great to see him take that over.
Yep. And Greg did say that, and I did confirm that actually DJ was a part of this past year Philadelphia Eagles team, so he actually did get a Super Bowl ring. So even better. And Greg's saying here, sad with Coach Elliott at the NIL event. We're going to run a hybrid defense. If you're familiar with Vic Fangio, he said he learned a lot from him while in Philadelphia. So again, that definitely excites me for sure. I mean, if you're going to learn from a defense or a defensive staff, Philadelphia Eagles defensive staff is going to be a staff to learn from. So hey, let's bring that over.
Especially Vic Fangio. Not
one of the best.
Yeah, not a good head coach, but a really good coordinator.
Yeah. I think, and I think even being Elliott was only the linebackers coach there, but it's still really hard to get an NFL job. There's only 32 teams of those. There's only 130 Division I college teams, but there's 300 when you go through all the levels of college teams. So you have to be pretty good to be a college coach, but you have to be really good to be an NFL coach, even if it's just a position coach, because there's just so many less opportunities. So I think that is, that's definitely something that we should be excited about.
Yep. Yeah. No. I mean, especially too. With DJ, just 25 years coaching, veteran experience. Again, has been at a lot of different places. So, just love the experience and just love as well. Just kind of it's kind of a little bit of a change up. You know, a guy that's you know, I hate to use the word kind of unproven, but you know, he just hasn't really been at a place long enough to the point where you know you can really kind of put a a stamp on it and say like this team or this defense was successful because of DJ Elliott. Just but again, like you know, from everything you've heard at camp, just you know the energy is so high, and you know again just brings a lot that you know just I just think just kind of changed up the juju a little bit. You know, we got knocked off the train track last year, and we need to be back on. I mean, if there's anything like you were saying at the beginning, Michael, that Dave Doran really wants to get back to, is you know having a you know top third of the ACC defense. And
like
and
I don't think I realized how actually bad, like statistically, bad our defense was last year. It was always like, okay, it's Tony Gibson, like he'll always put out a good defense, and obviously as the season went on, there were a bunch of games that you know we lost because we couldn't get a stop. But like when you looked at the stats at the end of the year, like we were like bottom 3 ACC teams, and that's now out of 17 teams.
Yeah,
and like in a lot of categories,
especially after Caden Fordham got hurt.
Yeah,
because after he got hurt, it was basically just the Sean Brown show. He had to do pretty much everything on linebacker.
Which, speaking of Sean Brown, he was the only guy on defense that is projected on the Bruce Feldman's freak list, top 100. So shout out to Sean Brown. But yeah, to your point, Michael, I pulled up some stats on the defense last year. I mean, points per game, we allowed 30.9 points per game, which is 98th in the country. I mean, that's 30.9 points. You're not. I mean, and to be fair, comparative, our on our offense, our points per game score was 27.8. So we were allowing them to score 31.
That's never a good thing.
So that wasn't happening. The worst statistical one we have is a points per play. So every play they scored about almost half a point per play, which is just not great.
You're giving up a lot of big plays.
Right.
Yep. Which we did. We definitely did last year.
The two best categories we were at last year, at least on this small section I'm looking at here. See if I can find some more. Maybe I'm not looking as far down. Yeah. We had, where's that right here? We were pretty decent at takeaways per game. We had 1.8 takeaways per game. Our best statistical category nationally was our rush defense, actually, the number of rushes they had. So a lot of teams were deciding to throw against us is the way I kind of see that. They kind of thought our secondary was not strong. And when you look at that with having all of our secondary leave this past season, pretty much, except for I think all the starters left. Devin Marshall's coming back. You've got what's the guy's name? Trente Hinton coming back. But there was a lot there that was not great, and we just need to I think a change of a lot of things in defense. With Tony's gone, let's just redo the whole thing.
Yep. And specifically too, you know, we've talked a little bit already about DJ Elliott, but we also need to talk about the other co-defensive coordinator as well, the new addition, and Charlton Warren as well, co-defensive coordinator, spent the last 3 years at Carolina. You know, this kind of feels to me definitely more of a energy and locker room get for sure. Just only reason and main reason is, you know, definitely you look at the last 3 years, him and Gene Chiswick's defense at Carolina over the last 3 years. That's not necessarily a defense I want to pull staff from necessarily, you know, feel confident about. Not saying that Charlton Warren, you know, was a big reason why the Carolina defense wasn't really that good over the last 3 years, but you know, that's just it's interesting hire for sure. But again, a guy that has a lot of experience as well, not as you know, only 48 years old. So again, should bring a lot of energy and hype to the locker room for sure. Going to be focused on the defensive back side as well. But before Carolina, spent some time at Georgia, Florida, Tennessee. Spent a lot of time in the SEC world. So that's kind of where I kind of have Charlton Warner, what he'll bring. Carson, anything you would add to that or agree on with that?
Yeah, I mean, people are gonna going off of what you said. People are gonna address this with a little concern, obviously, because Carolina's defense in the past few years wasn't very good, but also that's a defense that played under Mac Brown's culture, and so I'm not surprised. So I'm not holding that against Warren, but having that SEC experience is really good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you kind of already mentioned making a little bit here about Sean Brown. If we want to kind of move on over here to linebackers, obviously the main two squeeze here, Caden Fordham and Sean Brown. Michael, where would you kind of put that duo in terms of from a starting linebacker core wise versus the rest of the ACC this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of you have to asterisk it a little bit because Fordham was injured last year, but he was leading the ACC in tackles before he went out. So I do think that it's definitely one of the better duos in the ACC, at least playing up to their potential injury free. I think both of them could be really good, and they've both gotten some preseason accolades, and not necessarily the one All ACC team, but some of the preseason magazines. I think they've both been mentioned on first or second team All ACC. So I'm excited about both of them.
And I think going back to Greg's comment earlier, he sat down with DJ Elliott at the event and said it was probably going to be a hybrid role. I think that just goes even more so to pointing out if you're talking about, you mentioned a 4-2-5 or whatever, Leighton. I think it goes to me thinking that Trey Thomas is going to be the starter, because if it's really in a hybrid role like a 3-3-5 or a 4-2-5, that means that guy's playing a hybrid role either as a linebacker or a defensive end. So coming back and forth there, and then he's going to, unless somebody really beats him out, is better. I don't project Trey Thomas to be the starter at that point, even though I kind of more agree with ourlads.com. So yeah, I think having Sean Brown and Caden Fordham is a really strong anchor for your defense, and they're going to have to play lights out, in my opinion. So
yep. Yeah, no, Trey Thomas, a guy that had 72 tackles, 8 sacks over the last 3 seasons. But yeah, like you were saying, Michael, about Caden Fordham with his knee injury. So the big question for sure is just making sure that knee is 100%, once game time hits, which everything so far seems to be positive towards that. But, you just never know with the injuries.
Clear. Well, yeah. I mean, who knows how it actually plays, but yeah, medically he's been cleared. He was cleared, I think, before at ACC kickoff media days. He said it was already good to go. So hopefully he stays healthy.
Well, but and obviously this is also too when Justin Jolie was asked about his hamstring. Justin said my hamstring is perfect, which is obviously probably just kind of a brush it off kind of answer, but. But Carson, so is there anybody in particular you feel like that State fans need to watch out for in the linebacking core besides Caden and Sean Brown?
I don't think so. I mean, those are going to be the starters, and then I think reserves are going to be pretty strong with Richardson, Williams, and Dixon. Should be good reserves. I think the system is going to be better for the linebackers overall, because with the 3-3-5, it's very linebacker heavy, and it really works if you have guys like Drake Thomas, Peyton Wilson, Isaiah Moore. It works when you have those guys who can always read the defense, but a 4-2-5 puts less pressure on the linebackers with regards to also pressuring the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this system will help the linebackers.
Yeah, it's a good point. Now, to jump on Michelle's question here, when do they typically announce who's wearing number one? That's usually about 2 weeks in advance, something like that. It's usually a couple weeks in advance.
You got to get through camp a little bit, I believe. So
yeah, it's usually right in the middle of camp.
Who's your bets to be? Who is your bet to be number one?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Could it be a Brandon Cleveland? I can see it.
A big boy wearing number one.
Yeah.
I mean, Davin Van did, so.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it could be. I think it could be. I think it could be one of the two guys we're talking about, Fordham or Sean Brown. That wouldn't surprise me at all if it was one of those two.
We know Bailey's wearing 11, so he's already got 2 ones on his jersey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know. What was y'all
starter? So I mean, give it to Jacarius Peak, man.
Peak, yeah.
Well,
Jolie,
I mean,
maybe? He's
Joe, he said he's 7
right
I
now.
think, unless he wants one.
If I had to bet, I'd probably put money on Sean Brown or Fordham, one of those two. Yeah,
I'd say more Fordham.
Fordham's wearing 10, and Sean Brown's wearing 0. I feel like Sean Brown likes 0 unless I feel like Fordham could just take off one of those zeros and
cover it up.
Yeah,
you're good. You put some tape on it.
I mean, Doran's definitely always had high praise for Caden Fordham. So I'd be very shocked, honestly, if it wasn't Caden Fordham. But again, I get in my opinion though, because I mean, last year, I mean, definitely Davin Van being a 2-year number one wearer, and by far the vocal leader of the team. It'll be very interesting to see, in my opinion, who does get number one. So definitely we'll keep an eye out for that. But if it's Jacarius Peak, then drinks are I'm making. So anyway though, so now one thing I did want to mention though as well is that I don't know if y'all knew this as well, but because I think he was there last year as well, by Isaiah Moore being a assistant linebackers coach.
Oh yeah, I think he was there last year.
Yeah. But just again, I love moves like that, especially for a core with Sean Brown, Caden Fordham. I think Isaiah Moore being definitely well above average linebacker at NC State. Key piece for sure that if you wouldn't have had so many injuries, that we'd be probably talking about him in a much higher manner than we are right now. But also too as well, a guy that just was a humongous vocal leader in a locker room. So just again, guys that can connect with players, but also too as well as help build the culture as well. Obviously it starts with the players, but a guy like Isaiah Moore that's only 4 years removed from being a instant football player. Not even
his last year was 22.
So 3 years. 3 years removed. Like he's still one of the guys for sure. So just something else that kind of really stood out to me. But what year
student? Grad student.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what he's listed as in GoPack.
Wow.
Yeah, I think
can't believe he's been here that long.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, all right then. Hey, it's time to put up or shut up. Let's go. I'm ready for it. We need it. So let's do it. Now jumping on back to the defensive back side, in my opinion, this is definitely going to be the most interesting area. Losing, just like Macon was talking about earlier, most all of your starting defensive backs from last year. Losing Brandon Cisse to South Carolina, which was definitely a shocker for Coach Doran for sure. Yeah, and you could definitely hear the disappointment in his voice when he was asked about it at HC Media Day for sure. But just like he also said though, that then you still have 120, 24 other guys in the locker room that you got to turn your attention to. So, Macon, what's your predictions in terms of from let's start cornerback position wise? What do you kind of see there in terms of who steps up?
Well, I think one spot I mentioned earlier, Devin Marshall or Devon Marshall, how you pronounce it. Is it Devon or Devin?
It's well, they always say Devin.
Devin.
Yeah.
Okay, so Devin Marshall is starting, in my opinion. I don't know who else would be there. And then again, I'm just going to assume because I don't know, but I'm going off of who this website is projecting to be the starter at the other corner spot. And right now, they have Brian Nelson from North Texas starting there. He had 8 starts at North Texas. His first team All AAC. He was second in the ACC, tied for second AAC with 4 interceptions. So that was that's. I mean, like there's potential there
as a true freshman. He was a true freshman last year. So
right, that's a good point too. So sounds like at least on that website he's a starter. If it's not him, the guy behind him on that depth chart is Jamel Johnson.
Also transferred from Temple.
Yep. So that, with the defensive cohesiveness there with DJ Elliott, you could see that being a potential. Let's see here. I'm just kind of reading him on his bio. He was one of 4 players to start he started all 12 games. And Trey Thomas was one of the other 4. So basically we got 2 of the 4 starters for Temple that played all 12 games. He had 8 tackles against Utah State. His career high was 8 tackles and 6, including 6 solos against Utah State. But there's that. And then the other option, really, if they wanted to move somebody, the guy right now behind Devin Marshall, they have a Jackson Vick there. I don't know if that'll be there yet. He is a redshirt junior this year. So he's an upperclassman. Maybe that's a good thing. But I'd be curious if maybe a Jamel Johnson or a Brian Nelson starts there at the other corner spot ahead of Vic. So beyond that, I don't really know. They've got a few other. They got another defensive back they brought in from high school, Tristan Teasdale, but he's just not big enough, is my understanding, ready yet. He's a freshman. They've got Javon Bailey they brought in last season. Maybe he's a guy, but I haven't heard much about him. And then another guy transfer they brought in, and I don't know if he'll play corner or that nickel spot in a 4-2-5 scheme. But there's a guy we recruited out of high school, and he committed to Missouri and then transferred back to NC State named Jaron Sensabaugh. And it's the guy this recruiting staff, state coaches really wanted before he committed to Missouri. So now he's transferred to State. Knowing that they like him a lot as a talent and State's a really good team to develop, I would not be surprised if it's not this year, down the road, Sensabaugh is a starter. But we will see. So my hot take, it's not a hot take. It's just a guess at Brian Nelson or Jamel Johnson being your corner starting opposite of Devin Marshall.
Yep. Now, Michael, obviously looking at this, specifically the 2 safety spots, strong safety and free safety. There's a couple guys that I would love because, right now, Hinton and JJ Johnson seem to be the 2 projected probably starters there. But guys like Zach Myers, Damian Fagan, Isaiah Crowell, Ronnie Royal, guys that we, were high school commits. Do you think, any one of the 4 of them could potentially squeak into the starting lineup?
I think so. You mentioned JJ Johnson from Georgia State, all conference guy there. I think he's locked into one, and then Hinton at the other one. But I think the name that kind of has been floated around for who would push for that other spot would be Ronnie Royal.
Let's go.
I think he was a 4-star guy as well. But
he's one of the harder hitting guys on the team right now, which just makes sense because I think he had that kind of recognition from his high school teammates too.
Yeah, so. I think when we were recruiting, I think he had like a huge hit go viral. I think like in the video, the clip of like he knocked somebody's helmet off or something. Mm-hmm. I think I do remember that now you say that. So yeah, that's the name I've heard the most who could. But yeah, I think right now you kind of just project those JJ Johnson and Hinton kind of as the older guys on the team at those 2 spots, and they'll probably get the first crack at it.
Yeah. Now, I mean, Carson, I mean, one thing with this defensive back crew, which I really do like a lot. I mean, I just mentioned 4 guys in particular that I knew even out of high school, NC State, coach staff was pretty high on. Do you kind of feel a little bit confident going into the season that since there is so much depth there at the position?
Yeah, I like the depth. It gives you opportunities to play a lot of different players, get their feet wet. Even if it's only for a couple plays, that depth really helps you, especially with how our D was last year. I think we needed some changes and some depth with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really wide open at a lot of those spots outside of, like we talked about, Morsell, I think is locked in at one corner. And then I'd say JJ Johnson at one safety. And then, the other 3 defensive back spots, I think, are kind of open up for grabs, which, it's a good thing and a bad thing, because it'd be nice to have some returning production there. But again, we talked about it. Defense had its struggles last year, and the defensive backs were not, they weren't absolved of any of those issues either. So we'll see.
Yeah. Now, definitely, I think that I think really kind of the story for this whole defense, the whole offseason is really unknowns, really questions there. Now, there's potential for sure, but also too, I think that, my confidence in the floor being somewhat high is becoming off of, first of all, a really rough season from a defensive perspective, but also to a really rough bowl game in particular. I mean, having almost 300 yards rushing against you, every single defensive player, returning from last season, should be going into the season with a huge chip on their shoulder, being like, I mean, the bowl game, the season was not our standard for sure. But also too, as well, you could just tell from the media day that Dorn is going into the season specifically on the defense with a huge chip and a huge focus to bring the state defense back to what he's known for, which is having a really great defense and then a very solid offense to get the job done where needed. Even though Dorn, at the end of the day wants to win and doesn't really care how he wins, he still has his way that he typically does it. And it's not the Lane Kiffin way, which is winning a game 56-42. That's not that's probably never going to be a Dave Dorn win under his repertoire. But
this I will say, this season, your point, Lane, that's not the way he always rolls. But I think he's going to have to try to score more points this year with the offense he has than he maybe is used to. So I think he's going to have to be more willing to take shots this season and more explosive plays. 'Cause I know he's always defined those explosive plays as being plays of 20 more yards. So I think you're going to see some more air yards there. But then Hollywood's had like a 7 yards per carry average last season. So he's big time runner. So, but it'll be contradictory to Dave Dorn if they do that. So,
sure. Well, and I mean, also too, because do y'all feel at all that I feel like that we kind of talked a little bit this way about last year's team as well, where last year's team was kind of the same thing, where the offense was seeming like it was going to be so dominant and there was you were probably saying, well, the offense probably is going to have to carry more of the weight than they have over the last 6 to 8 years or so. So a lot of similarities there. So, I mean, I think it just, I don't know. Like I'll kind of ask you, Michael, what do you think is the key to this defense? In terms of what do you think besides, getting more pressure up front? Like, is there a player in particular, or anything like that you think is or a position in particular? Like, if we can get this position addressed and really figure out who's our guy, who's our 1 or 2 guys at this position, that, if we have that, then defensively we should be figuring things out.
Yeah. I'll kind of answer it 2 ways. Like you said, person or position, I'd probably go with the linebackers. I feel like they were kind of the weak spot, and some of those due to Fordham going down. last year, but I feel like that was the big weak spot last year. And then scheme wise, yeah, you said it. Outside of getting pressure, that is the number one. Like that's the whole reason DJO is being brought in. So yeah, if you take that out, I think the next most important thing is limiting the explosive plays. I think we were pretty low in the country, pretty bad at giving up explosive plays last year, and those just kill you because it's just hard to come back from.
Also, getting off the field.
Yeah,
getting off the field because a lot of those explosive plays were on 3rd and 4th down.
Yeah,
especially in that Wake game.
Yeah, Wake and Georgia Tech, they went down. We had a couple stops to get them too. Yeah, that's just so hard, and it's just weird. And like we were saying earlier, it was so not typical of Tony Gibson. Like he was the years before that, we were best in the country, especially on third and 4th down, and then last year everything just blew up. So. Yeah,
definitely.
Getting pressure. So getting pressure, I think that's number one. Getting those sack numbers up, tackles for loss, and then limiting your explosive plays. I think if we can do those two things, I think we should be at least a solid defense.
Yep. So since we have a little bit of extra time here, I want to talk about two things in particular here. One, special teams wise, kick return, punt return. Heard a lot of stuff around Hollywood Smothers and Jonathan Paylor, but this site has Wesley Grimes getting in on punt return. But Macon, what's your thoughts? Do you feel like what would you say your prediction would be in terms of who would be punt returning, who would be kick returning?
I'll be honest with you. I don't really want to see Hollywood Smothers doing those returns because I would just hate your starting running back to get killed on a hit like that or a tackle. But that dude is explosive as they can get. So.
Yep.
This seems like the perfect scenario for a Jonathan Paylor, in my opinion.
Yes.
That dude is fast as lightning, and you want to give him touches. Go ahead.
I think kick return for Paylor, and then Wesley Grimes for punt return.
Yeah. And you said Wesley Grimes. He is on ourlads.com. He is the projected starter, and I don't think was he punt returner last year?
No, KC was.
KC.
Okay, that's right. So Grimes is right now on this list is the projected starter. They have kick return with Hollywood, but I just feel like if I want Paylor to win that job, if you get what I'm saying. Like I want him to win that job, not because Hollywood's bad, but because let Hollywood be great as a running back, like be the RB1, and then let Paylor be the guy you can fit in the running game. Yeah. And also, he is the kick returner, or the punt returner, excuse me, or it could be kick returner. Yeah. So
Paylor is definitely like your flex player, and
right.
He came in not necessarily at any position. He came in as an athlete, and so he can fit anywhere.
Yeah. And also too, Caden Noonkester, like I feel like he's a guy who doesn't really get as much talk as he maybe should, which I get it. Punters in general aren't really going to get much, talking hype. But I mean, still, when you think about over the last, 8 years in terms of the amount of, talent that Dorrance put out at the punting position, Caden Noonkester is definitely right up there with the rest of them. So I don't know, just we'll see what happens, but just loved seeing Caden Noonkester back. Kanoa Vincent, solid kicker last year. Can you take a step further, really be a little bit more consistent from the 40-plus yarders? Then maybe give me a high 50s potential kick. That'd be phenomenal. So, but Preacher Man saying here, Paylor will be J Sam. What are your thoughts on that?
That'd be nice.
I could see
it would be nice.
I don't know. I think he would just be a different version of it. I mean, like Jalen Samuels he had the ability to. I view Paylor more of a Hines than I do a Jalen Samuels.
Yeah,
like he could be that's kind of scat back kind of guy who can, and he was the kick returner, punt returner. I can't remember what it was for State those years he was here too. So, but I kind of view Paylor more of a Hines than I do a Samuels. Samuels kind of, I remember at one point they talked about Samuels being more of like a flex tight end kind of role, and I just don't see that. But I get where you're coming from, being like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah. And Michelle, you know, adding a little bit of context, saying if you don't talk about the punter, that's usually a good thing. So that's very true. It's a good point. So, but to wrap this up here, y'all, there was one question which was posed earlier by Preacher Man. Speaking of defense, favorite all-time defensive player at NC State? Michael, who you got? Favorite all-time
defensive player? Man, that's so tough.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Peyton Wilson probably needs to be in that list.
Peyton Wilson's up there just because, you know, I would say recency bias, but I don't think it's really biased. I think
he's literally one of the
when
best
you look at the
players.
stats, yeah. I'll give him kind of growing up, like as a younger kid, my favorite was Nate Irving.
I agree, dude. Him and Terrell Manning and Audie Cole as a 3 linebackers were like, that was a defense that made me fall in love with NC State defense, just picking up the dude and like dropping him on his head.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. David Amerson was fun to watch before.
Oh yeah,
his bad year, but his good year, his amazing year, like it was just like he was going to catch everything, like intercept everything. It was crazy.
Yeah, dude was unstoppable. Yeah.
I think the fun dude to play defense, not my favorite, but he was just fun, was Dravius Wright. Like he was just fun to watch play defense. Mm-hmm. He was just, I remember that one dude he had against Troy. He just killed that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Bradley Chubb's probably my personal favorite.
Chubb is up there. I mean,
Chubb, Mario Williams, you know, Stephen Tulloch, Thunder, you know, but honestly, and Earl Wolf is one as well. I think, or like Earl Wolf. Honestly, like I just love the name. Like, you know, it's just such a great NC State player name, Earl Wolf.
Brandon Bishop.
See, dude, you read my mind. I was literally about to say Brandon Bishop is a guy I've always loved. I mean, like, you know, I think I can't remember what quality control person I was talking to, but it's a former NC State cornerback. And who played during the Amato Phillip Rivers years, and he was coaching at Brandon Bishop's high school, and you know, he basically was you know, just taking a visit at NC State, was talking to the defensive coach, and was like, hey, have you guys ever watched this guy Brandon Bishop? And like a guy that came out of high school, no offers whatsoever, you know, was absolutely slept on. But I mean, if you're looking for the most consistent, most, you know, reliable, you know, safety, you know, probably in NC State history, I mean, Brandon Bishop's up there, man. Like you just you knew what you were going to get out of him every single week, and he played a lot of ball, started a lot of games for NC State for a guy that got no offers out of high school. So, just saying. So, yeah, love him, love his story, love how much he played, but. Yeah, so you got a lot of options in NC State for sure, a lot of them. You know, hey, you could throw a Bill Cowher in there as well, right? You know, why not? You know, give a little bit of shout out to you know the days of what came. So Audie Cole, Michelle saying Audie Cole. Yeah, Williams, Street, Hill was maybe some defensive line. And again, we can have this debate until you know until the end of time about, you know, which defensive line was better: B.J. Hill, Contavious Street, Justin Jones, Bradley Chubb, or, you know, the Tank Tyler, Mario Williams. You know, that early 2006 defensive line was also insane. So anyway, though, so you know, make any final thoughts here about this defense here before we put a bow on it and get ready for August 28th?
No, I think similar to the offense, I'm just really interested to see what this core looks like. Like, I really don't know what to expect because there's just going to be so much different, and that kind of goes with the truth offense. But I have, I know there's proven things on the offense more than I know there's proven things in defense, and so Trey Thomas, I can't Sloan, Harsh. AJ Richardson, you've got the guys like Sensaba, you've got the Johnsons, Brian Nelson. Like, there's so many guys that you're going to have to see how they do it. And then to the point we talked about earlier, I mean, you got 2 new defensive coordinator, leaders for this team, new type of defense. It's just going to be really fascinating, I think, to see how they bring it all together, who emerges, who disappoints, and can they, particularly like you said, Michael, two things, can they improve the pass rush, and can they limit explosive plays?
Yeah,
and
that's the formula. Yeah.
But don't worry, nobody's going to disappoint. Everybody's going to be amazing this year. So,
Great.
So yeah, exactly.
I found a
ahead,
very interesting stat. So in 23, there were 8 games where we allowed less than 24 points, and we went 7-1 in those games. And then in 2024, we had 8 games where we allowed 24 points or more, and our record in those games was 2-6.
Yeah.
That's how Dave Doran rolls. I mean, that's just what his thing is. He's just defensive-minded, conservative, hard-nosed football.
Yep.
And
hard-nosed. I love that.
Yeah.
It's a good characteristic.
Yeah. So that's a good number to watch. 24. I mean, that's
24.
It's like on offense. They talk about, I know Doran's talked about on offense, their goal is to score at least 31 points a game, at least. Because when you look at the record in those games where you score 31 points, you're winning the most.
Also, remember they allowed teams to score 30.9, so 31 would be the target there. So
right,
or 30.
And then on the defense side, it's I think that number's probably 24.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So numbers to keep an eye on, but and also getting a lot of love for Tanner Engel in the chat as well.
Good one.
That's another guy for sure. So. The interception against Carolina, that's always a fun one. So,
and I feel like with sorry, we keep going on.
Go for it.
On Tanner Engel, he was like, you could see the most growth from him because he was 20 on that 2019 team that was really bad and got injured a lot. So we played a lot of young guys, and I think he was one of them. And like you could see his growth from. I remember he had like three like targeting penalties in that one year, and then like by his senior year he was like one of the best safeties in the league.
Yeah. And since Chilton asked this, I feel it's my duty to spend 2-3 minutes, just 2-3 minutes, and then we're going to wrap up and get out of here talking about Dave Doran. Stick around. Obviously Coach Doran made some comments during AC Media Day, which definitely kind of went along with some of the rumors that have been kind of going around about is this Dave Doran's last season, no matter how good or bad things go, and obviously his comments about talking about how, he's always talked about at 55 retiring and open up a main tackle shop. He's 53 right now. And talking about his dad, who retired 65 and 3 years later forgot his name. So he doesn't, want to be the guy working until he's 65. So, I don't know. And honestly, if I could say anything about Coach Doran, is that we won't know anything until it actually happens. So we won't know a daggone thing.
Yeah, I think it's just like I won't be surprised either way if he stays or leaves after this year, just because that's not. It certainly picks up at this point every year because he like you said, he's made these comments before, like years ago. So it's like that it's definitely been on the horizon. So yeah, I don't know. I just say it could go either way right now.
Yeah. So anyway, with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, really appreciate you tuning in here to our NC State football defense preview. Next week we'll do the offensive side of the ball, and then the next 2 weeks after that we will be doing our season predictions. So it's gonna be a fun one, y'all. So make sure to tune in for next week where we talk about some offense, and who knows, may have a special guest. Won't give anything away there, but we'll see. And with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, make sure you do not miss out on it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It really does help us. And also to make sure that you do not miss out whenever we do any of our live streams whatsoever. And then also to if you're listening to us on Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to us on Spotify, wherever, if you wouldn't mind leaving us a 5-star review, we greatly appreciate that as well. And make sure you give us a follow, Tuffy Talk now, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, y'all. And if you enjoyed the show, appreciate you, Preacher Man, Michelle, Chilton. Make sure you hit that like button as well. We greatly appreciate that as well. With that being said, y'all, 24 days to kick off. We'll see y'all soon. And as always, go Pack, y'all. BDCU.